This podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only and does not constitute professional advice. The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely those of the speakers.
Welcome to Positively on the Spectrum, our podcast where we put a positive spin on life on the spectrum. Finding your village and navigating neurodiversity. We aren't experts, but we're in it together.
That's right.
Yeah. You alright?
Oh, I don't know what to do.
So today is a bit different. Usually we have a topic that we're going to talk about, but we don't have a topic. We're just going to chat and see where it goes. So
Yeah.
you know as much as we know right now what we're going to talk about. You wanted to touch on, what was it? This week is...
Yes, this week is Neurodiversity Celebration Week. I think I've got the wording right there, Neurodiversity Celebration Week, which is a bit of a mouthful. What's the word I always use? Representation.
Mm-hmm.
I think representation is a bit of a hot topic. There's obviously been a few things lately. I don't know if you've seen all the BAFTA controversy around that I Swear movie.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, I thought it was... Have you seen it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was incredible. I absolutely thought it was amazing. It was
I
a
did.
hard watch. As a parent, it was a hard watch. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is the idea of representation, I think, is really important.
Yep.
I think there needs to be more of it. There needs to be a broader variety of it across different platforms of whether it be just, the written word, the spoken word, social media, that kind of thing. Because I think it's going to be really beneficial for our children growing up. I actually saw a really good post this morning, which I shared, and it was somebody asking parents of adult neurodiverse autistic adults, so parents of adults, what is something that you would tell a first time parent, like a parent at the start of their journey? And the comments were invaluable. They were really, really good. I've shared it on Instagram on a story and reposted it. But what I'll do is I might even pop it on the grid so it's still there when this goes out. And I had a good look and it was really, really interesting. And I do think that kind of representation is very good as well, because you can really feel like in the trenches at the start, and it's hard to look forward. I try not to. Professionals tell you not to try and not look too far into the future, because things change so rapidly. Well, not so rapidly, but things will change over time. So what you're dealing with right now isn't necessarily going to last until your kids are 15, 20, that kind of thing.
But it's hard not to look into the future because you're constantly doing it with everything else in your life. So you're actively trying not to do something.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then if you've got other kids,
yeah,
that aren't neurodiverse or are different to, you're thinking forward for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
in a positive way. So it's got to be hard.
Yeah, it's definitely a contradiction in the sense of how we're naturally living our lives, because you look to the future and you plan, and
you've got to be prepared as well. Like,
yes,
even what I've just went through with nursery placements and stuff, like I had to be prepared and look into the future of what his needs were going to be and how they were going to be met. And if I hadn't have planned ahead, then I'd be failing him, because then he wouldn't be getting the support that he needed, because everything takes so long. So on one hand, I agree with you, but on another hand, when it comes to like education and settings, you've got to look ahead.
Yeah,
you've got
definitely.
to think the future, and you've got to, I don't want to say plan for worst case scenario, because that sounds terrible, but you've got to think of the best outcome that you can get and go for it. And then it's like, well, if they don't need it, if in like 2 years time they don't need that placement, then you can let it go and somebody else can take it.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think as well it's about being, like you said, being prepared. And I mean, I put a lot of value on learning independence. So with my oldest, that's something that's really important to me when it comes to learning, basic hygiene and basic life skills, cooking, cleaning, that kind of thing. Even though mentally she's probably not at that stage yet, it's about, starting early. And because I do want her she may still have a limited life as she grows up, but I don't want her to be limited in herself, if that makes sense. I want her to be able to be as independent as she possibly can. I've always been incredibly independent from a young age, and it's something that's really important to me. It's meant that I've had a wonderful life and still have a wonderful life, but I've been in control of that as well. And there are certain things that will potentially stop her from being completely in control of her own life, so I want to make sure she's got the skills to be able to do what she can. Does that make sense?
And I almost feel like I personally underestimate my son, with what
Mm-hmm.
he can and can't do.
Yeah.
And I find myself quite guilty at, and then actually he'll prove me wrong and he'll do it himself.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Do you know, a big thing I've found is not putting my fear of failure onto her.
mm-hmm.
So, for example, let's think about an example here. So, because I don't want to be too specific for her own privacy, but if you think about, I've thought to myself, well, if I try that, maybe that will work, but then I'm scared to fail myself. But actually, it's not about me, it's about her. So what I should be doing is putting that in the bin, getting over myself, and push
Trying
forward
it.
and try it, because if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Like, it's not about failure or success, it's about trying something and giving her the best
And
opportunity.
it's remembering that they're kids. So kids who aren't neurodiverse fail
Mm-hmm.
at things and need to do things over and over and again
Mm-hmm.
until they get it right.
Yeah.
Right, like tying their shoelaces.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
simple things
absolutely.
like that. Like you've got a. I remember with my daughter, I felt like I was constantly hitting my head off a brick wall trying to teach her, and we were at my friend's house one day, and my friend's house was like, in my friend's house, my friend was like, "Want me to show you how I taught my son?" And she literally went like this, put it through here, and that was it. And I'm like, "Are you for real?" I've spent like 2 years trying to get her to tie her shoe, and that's it. That's how she does it now
Yeah.
because my friend taught her.
Yeah.
I had almost like given up, but so I think it's just being a parent as
Yeah,
well.
absolutely.
And
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
not underestimating them because they do have autism. It's like you've got to try, and obviously you only try so many things before you're like, right, this isn't going to work. But revisit it further down the line.
So there's actually a process, a skill. I don't even know if that's what you would call it, but it's called backward training.
Okay.
It's something that is talked about in the early bird course. It's run by the National Autistic Society, and it's basically,
Love the early bird course.
yeah, same.
Love it.
Basically, it's doing things backwards.
Mm-hmm.
So that is actually how I taught my oldest to undress.
Mm.
So she can now undress. She can mostly dress independently, but the undressing came first, and like doing a zip and that kind of thing. So it was all about doing it, because undoing a zip is a lot easier than doing up a zip. So it's about things like that. So it's finding the easier way to do it and showing them how to do that first and backwards sort of steps. Um, and then often they'll get that going forward,
Mm-hmm.
if that makes sense. Google it, because it's called backward. It's either
It's
backward
like
chaining or
showing you
backward
what you can
training.
achieve, but then figuring out how you get to achieve
Yes,
it.
yes. And I found it really, really helpful. It definitely brought us a long way when it came to independence, when it comes to like personal care and that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think is, to me, is a priority for
Mm-hmm.
me. Like,
because I've even noticed, like, I will say to like my husband or like my mum, I'm like, he can take his own clothes, his top off and put his own, whereas they're doing it for him
yeah,
because they just automatically assume that he kind of do it. And I'm like, no, no. So I literally just put it over his head and then
yeah,
he puts his arms in and
yeah,
then pulls it down.
yeah.
But we're actually at a point now where I'm noticing he's starting to get, I don't know if it's like a clothes sensitivity or sensory width, but he pulls his sleeves down. See if
Mm-hmm.
they go up a tiny wee bit, he's
Yeah.
like pulling them down. And then the trousers as well, if they go, because he wears a lot of cuffed trousers.
Right.
So if he's like in the car seat with a harness on and you see him trying to pull his trouser
Yeah.
leg down or his jammies goes up, he kind of pulls them down. I actually think it's quite cute, but
That is very
it could
cute.
potentially become a nightmare. And even with his jacket with his zip, he's got to have it right up to his
Oh,
chin.
really?
Mhm.
That's really
And that's
interesting.
a new thing. Like,
Yeah.
you could have walked about with it open.
Yeah.
Now if I put a jacket on him, it's got to be zipped. And I noticed it, and the nursery noticed that he's got to have it right up so he can feel it under his chin.
That's really interesting. See, a lot of that is to do with um is it proprioception, like where you are in the world. So feeling those sorts of things will help him feel, probably
Yeah.
helps him feel grounded.
Mhm.
Whereas my my two are the opposite. They could be walking around with one shoe on and they wouldn't notice. Do you know what I mean? Or one arm up, but it's the trouser, the jammy legs, like when they've slid off the couch or whatever, and they got one up, one down, and that they just very unbothered. Yeah,
he used to be like that. It's literally only the last couple of weeks that he's, and you see him, he's all business. He's like,
get this down.
Get down. Like I say, I was quite cute.
Yeah, very, very cute.
Most of the stuff that he starts to do is quite cute.
Yeah, absolutely.
We went for a haircut yesterday and he sat really, really well.
That's so good.
And that's just, I feel like repetition.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I'm going to the same barbers and I will try and use the same barber just because I feel like it's obviously building that trust with him as well.
Definitely. Well, we go, I mean, my youngest, she loves it. We go to the same place and she sits up and she looks in the mirror and she just loves it. And the place that we go to has a sensory room, which is incredible. And my
we didn't even go in a sensory room yesterday.
No.
As soon as we went in, they've got toys.
Yes, outside.
And he's seen those. And I was like, no, we're going to get your haircut. And the barber says, no, give him like a couple of minutes if he wants to play. There's no rush. And I thought, if I let him play with it, I'll not get my way through. So I just got the custard creams out, shook it in. I'm like, come on. And he sat up and he done so well. But it was really good knowing that room was there.
Yeah.
If things got too much, and I know for a fact I could have said to that barber, can we stop and give him 5? And he would have been like, no bother.
Yeah.
He was really approachable.
Well, they cut my eldest's hair sat on the floor in the sensory room. They come to her and they'll sit on the floor and they'll follow her about, because we used to have somebody come to the house to do it. And she was fine. But then after a while, it changed. And my oldest was like, she knew as soon as she come in the house. And so I was like, I don't want to have her associating that with being in the house. It's now her safe space. So we changed that. And it's been good. It's been good because my girls have both got lots of hair. But my youngest now asked, can we go to the Barbies? She calls it the Barbies. Yeah, it's very cute.
I wonder where she gets that from. But that's where inclusion, like them having a sensory room and being open to trying to help. And
definitely. And
where businesses could take a leaf out their book.
Definitely. Yeah.
And I know lots of businesses are trying to actively make it. I know our local football team as well, they opened up I don't know if it's a sensory room, but it's like a safe room space that they can go to.
Yeah.
If they wanted to go to football, and they can go in there. And
that's massive. The SFA have actually put a lot of money into that side of things as well, which is really good. Like a lot of money.
And this is all positive stuff that's happening. This is all what we want. This is what we're all pushing for.
And I think as well, for so long it's been parents fighting for this sort of stuff, and finally the companies are starting to listen. I will say though, there are some simple things that bigger companies are missing. They're missing the mark on. Things like disability trolleys. That's a really bad one. I know our local supermarkets, out of the 3 huge ones, I won't say their names, but out of the 3 huge ones, the smaller one is the one that is the most accessible when it comes to trolleys. So the 2 big branded ones one doesn't have any of a particular type of trolley, which is helpful for older children to be strapped in. And then the other one of those has like 3 or 4. And when approached, they said, oh, we did have 2, but they got stolen. So they just didn't replace them, which is just not on.
I know.
And yet at the same time, they'll be the first to come out with the sensory boxes that have got the headphones and that kind of thing, which is great, but that doesn't suit all children. Like that wouldn't help me with a 6-year-old eloper who's the size of an 11-year-old who hasn't been able to sit in a trolley space for a long time. And if she's in the actual trolley, there's no shopping getting in that trolley. And if it is, it's all getting eaten, so it's just little things like that will, not only does it make our lives easier, but it would make me choose to shop there over somewhere else. Whereas at the moment, it doesn't.
If you had to, go in and ask for a trolley,
exactly,
keep it safe, and then you just turn it when you're finished using it. But it's funny you should say it, because I was leaving one of the supermarkets the other day. I don't usually shop in, and I seen the trolley you're talking about at the door, and I thought, oh, good, that's good, because I have seen a lot.
Because they spend a fortune on those little tiny ones for kids to push about. So if you can be accommodating to small children crashing into the back of your ankles with a tiny trolley, or you end up pushing it around holding the flag because they've put it off, then I think
try to ram all your stuff in a basket size trolley. You said you had to take your
Exactly.
trolley.
But yeah, so I do think that inclusion matters massively, and it doesn't have to be huge. Like, you don't have to change the world, just that bit of inclusion and that nod to families to make that little life a little bit easier makes such a huge difference. Well, it does. I know it does to me anyway.
I know. And what I found as well, it was a while ago, I remember seeing the supermarkets were talking about they were introducing like autism friendly hours.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, are you for real? Like, if I'm up all night, there's no way I'm getting a supermarket for 7 o'clock because
Yeah.
it's between 7 and 8 or 9 and 10.
But again, also,
and I'm like,
autism doesn't mean quiet.
I know, but I'm like, just they are all the time. Just dim the lights a wee bit and turn the music down a wee bit, and it, probably a lot of people would prefer it than just autistic people. But I find that when businesses do offer to try and help, it's so limited to like certain times.
But
and
also
it's a struggle to get her, like the local swimming pool and stuff, having it like first thing in the morning, and
it's hard because yes, that they say, well, we've still got a business to run and that kind of thing, but also it's not a one size fits all. Like, my kids don't want to walk into a soft play that has no music on, because they love it. They just maybe need it to be a little bit less busy. Well, they probably don't even need it. I need it to be a little bit less busy so I can keep an eye on them, keep them safe. There's not going to be any instances of them getting out the door because there's hundreds of people leaving at the same time with like time change in soft play or anything like that. So it's not one size fits all, and I think.
But then it's a bit controversial as well, like when you're saying that, like, no one size fits all, because then how are they meant to know what to implement?
Well, this is
Do
the
you know
thing.
what I mean?
So
Like,
have conversations. Ask. Don't just. So this is what I'm trying to say. So a lot of companies say ASN session or SEN session, wherever you are, because it ticks a box for them. They've put it in their business plan that they're going to have this, and so they're going to dim the lights. But instead of doing that, just ask families, what do you want from us? What do you need? Is it just that you want it exclusively for ASN families, so you're going into a judgment-free zone where you know that they're safe and you feel more comfortable, or is it that you do want the lights dimmed and the music dimmed and all those accommodations made? Just ask, because token gestures, personally, I don't think go very far.
Yeah, it's something that needs looked at, but we are definitely making progress, I think.
Oh, 100%. I mean, if I look at when I first sort of started any sort of advocacy back 2020, late 21, early 22, the changes have been unbelievable. And I think,
What would you say is the biggest change?
Conversation.
Right. What would you say is the least changed that you would like to see change?
Childcare. So, out of school care, holiday care, more support for working parents, I think, as well. But again, that's controversial because it's controversial. So if you've got anything that you'd like to chat about, or like any opinions on what we've chatted about, because it was a bit of a free chat today, wasn't it? Which was quite cathartic and quite enjoyable. Yeah, so we hope you did as well. Going forward, that's probably what we'll sort of be looking at doing. But you can always, DMs are always open on Instagram, Positively on the Spectrum, comments on YouTube and TikTok as well. So they're always monitored and looked at closely. So yeah.
See you next time.
See you next time.
Bye.